New at 4:30, a story of perseverance through the odds. A woman finally received her new heart after testing positive for the coronavirus. And now she is sharing her story.
22-year-old Savannah Nissel says she was suffering chest pains nearly every day, and because of that positive test, doctors couldn't operate, worried the virus would complicate her recovery. But as News 6's Amanda Castro explains, the virus wouldn't stop Savannah or doctors at AdventHealth.
Savannah Nissel joining AdventHealth's morning briefing, remembering what life was like before her heart transplant.
I had never ran in my life. I had never been able to play team sports. I was never able to chase after my dog in the front yard.
When she was 3, doctors found a heart murmur, living asymptomatic until she was 19, when she got life-changing news from her doctor.
And he said, well, you probably have about 2 to 5 years left with your heart.
She went on the transplant list last summer, getting a heart in August. But then she tested positive for COVID-19, preventing her from getting the transplant.
In that setting where they're actively infected, transplant's simply not an option.
Dr. Stacey Mandris is a transplant cardiologist. She says despite the pandemic, they actually did more heart transplants, 64 last year. Data from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services shows Florida saw an increase in transplants between 2019 and 2020, as well as an increase in donors, both the highest ever reported since officials started tracking these stats more than 30 years ago.
I would say from a transplant standpoint, from a heart transplant standpoint, I don't believe that COVID has really affected the work that they're doing all that much.
After testing negative, Savannah got a new heart last September.
Everybody's always like, oh my gosh, she walks so fast. And I'm like, yeah, that's because I got a young heart, new engine.
She adds she always remembers the donor, never taking this gift for granted.
This is something that I'm living not just for myself, but for somebody else, because they will never get to experience this.
Amanda Castro, Getting Results, News 6.